My son. So many movies come to mind when you say my son. Um, Darth Vader. No, you shouldn't be thinking of Darth Vader when you read Proverbs, but someone speaking to his son affectionately, giving advice. So it says, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding, yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it," oh, there's a fly. Ooh. Ay, 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 ay. If you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice and watching over the ways of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice and equity, every good path. For wisdom will come into your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you, understanding will guard you, delivering you from the way of evil, from men of perverted speech who forsake the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil and delight in the perverseness of evil, men whose paths are crooked and who are devious in their ways. So the dad is saying to his son, no, seek after wisdom, seek after this understanding, and then God will give this understanding to your heart. Interesting, isn't it? That seeking after something that God will ultimately give you. And what's the connection? You shouldn't be seeking God and then God gives you the wisdom. Well, it's kind of like one the same. The way in which God blesses you is by giving you that wisdom. In other words, this wisdom has an element of seeking God in it. Again, the beginning of wisdom is that fear of God. It's seeking to live in a way that is right before God. And that's why you'll be kept from evil and kept from the wrong company. It's almost as if God gives you this knowledge and this desire to live according to His way as a way to protect you, to keep you walking in His way. So again, you call out for insight, raise your voice for understanding, come here wisdom, come to me wisdom, and you seek it like silver. You're looking out for it. Reading the Bible, constantly thinking after these thoughts as if we're searching for hidden treasure. I'm reading this. I really, really want to understand it. I really want to I want to apply it in my lives. And say, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and you'll find knowledge of God. And then God gives you this wisdom. And it's from His mouth. And it's the idea of, again, God's word, the Bible is from His mouth. His spoken word that is written down in the Bible. And then He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. It's a particular group of people He gives. People who are righteous learn how to walk in righteous ways. So interesting, isn't it? People who already have this character, this desire for God's ways, that God then gives them the knowledge and the words and the wisdom in order to walk in that knowledge, to walk in that way. So God almost honors that desire by giving us the practical know-how in order to live in that way that honors Him. And that protects us. Discretion will watch over you, understanding will guard you. There's this protective element of having wisdom around you that you will guard you from straying away from God's ways. So let's pick up from verse 16. So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman. Forbidden woman, or strange woman. It's interesting. ESV footnote, strange woman. You'll be delivered, you'll be saved from this forbidden woman. From the adulteress with her smooth words, who forsakes the companion of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God, for her house sinks down to death and her path to be departed. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you will walk in the way of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous, for the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out to it. And there's talks about this strange adulterous woman who herself has forsaken God, forsaken her own like family, for her own marriage, her own lover, and is now seeking new lovers. She said, "Oh, come to me, come to me." And he says, if anyone goes to her, they never come back. So it's like a one-way trip down this troubled relationship. And it reminds me, just came to my mind, Augustine, I think it was Augustine, who actually led quite a sordid life when he was young. So before he became a Christian, he actually had relationships that he was ashamed of later. And one day, after he'd become a Christian, one of his old girlfriends, I think he was a prostitute actually on the street, said, Augustine, come to me. And it reminds me of this picture again. Augustine, come back to me. And Augustine couldn't recognize her. For he had a relationship with her, but he just couldn't recognize her. And what she said to him was, Augustine, it is I. And I think if I remember correctly, Augustine looked at her and said, but it is not I. Meaning something had changed in him that he no longer had that desire. It was no longer him, because God had given him that new heart, that new way of thinking, that new character that no longer had that desire to chase after the things that he used to. So here, wisdom is not just knowing, if I do this, it's the right thing, do that, that's the wrong thing. But it's almost the desire, the want to do that right thing, that godly thing, that righteous thing that lives according to God's ways. So verse 20, if you will walk in the way of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous, for the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. And it's not just talking about you receive this land or you live a long time, but you will inherit it. You remain in it. It's a sign of God's blessing. The promised land is a sign of all that God will bless us, not just with this physical land, but with heaven. That relationship with him and all that he wants to give to his people, his sons, that inheritance that he wants to pass down to them. But, verse 22, the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out from it. Meaning, even though you're there now, you'll be cut out. And therefore, there's that warning. If you're now in God's blessing, you know God's ways, don't be cut off from it. Don't cut out. And don't leave God's ways such that you'll be left out of God's inheritance, God's love, God's blessing. Yeah, Proverbs chapter 2, very, very helpful.